Hi, I'm Bisma, and you're listening to The Other C Word, a podcast about all things cancer from a stage 4 breast cancer warrior. We cover health and wellness, mind, body, and soul. Plan to leave each episode with hopefully some new insights and inspiration. Let's get into this week's episode. All right, welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into the vital role that nutrition plays in the cancer journey. I'm thrilled to be joined by Stacy Davis, an amazing cancer nutritionist with years of experience in helping patients with managing their diet and nutrition throughout treatment and beyond. Stacy's approach is all about empowering patients with the knowledge and tools to make informed choices so that they can positively impact their health and overall well-being. So whether you're currently in treatment yourself, a survivor, or supporting a loved one, I have a feeling that Stacy's insights today will be super invaluable. Stacy, thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, especially to talk about food and nutrition.
I know. It's honestly one of my favorite topics.
I mean, who doesn't love food?
I know. It really is. I think regardless of whether you're sick or not, like just learning about nutrition can be so impactful. So how about to start, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you become to be a nutritionist and then also focusing on cancer?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, long story short, my grandmother told me, if you eat pasta, you'll lose weight. So this was back probably in the 90s. And I took grandma very seriously and I took it to the extreme. So basically for 2 years, all I ate was pasta and drank Crystal Light iced tea. I had lots of fights with my mom because my mom wanted me to eat protein and vegetables, but grandma knew most, grandma knew. And I wanted to lose weight. So after I did eat a little chicken, I was always doubled over in pain. And then when I was 16, my mom started noticing I was losing my hair. Like my hair was getting very thin. So, I mean, looking back, it's very obvious, but back then it really wasn't. So we went to doctor to figure out what was going on with me. Some doctors told me it was female pattern baldness and I better get used to it. And then we finally went to an alternative medicine doctor. And the first question she asked me was, what do you eat? And what I told her, basically pasta and Crystal Light iced tea. And I didn't discriminate against the pasta. It could be any type of pasta. So I was malnourished. And we also figured out that I had food allergies. So I was allergic to red meat. So that's why I was doubled over in pain. So at the age of 16, I really realized what you put in your body affects everything about you. Let you know, I did not lose weight on the pasta diet. But yeah, I realized that what you put in your body affects everything about you. It affects your mood, your hair, your skin, your nails. And it really made me want to share that with people so they don't do what I did, but also put the nourishing foods in your body. So when my mom's like, you should become a dietitian, I was like, okay. So I went to school to be a dietitian, but I always loved the kitchen. So once I became a registered dietitian, did all my schooling, I got a job and I started going to culinary school at night to learn, to teach people like how to make foods delicious, like healthy foods. They don't have to be boring. They don't have to, just be steamed broccoli and chicken. That's what I like to say. Like people think healthy, it has to taste bad, but it doesn't. Like we can make food so delicious. And that's also nourishing for you, especially if you're going through treatment, because that's when, everything happens, especially the side effects and, mealtime shouldn't be a stressful situation, which it can be.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you started, did you go to school specifically for cancer or was that like something that you got into as you started working?
As I started working, I moved from New York to South Florida. I got a job at a nursing home and I'm like, okay, I want to learn more. I loved my nursing home job. I loved my seasoned older people. But I wanted something else. So I got a job at a hospital and I remember them telling me they're going to put me on the oncology floor. And at that time, I did not know what oncology meant. So I had to Google it. And I'm like, cancer? Like, what am I going to do with cancer? I don't know. It didn't hit me at first. But then when I jumped into the field and really got into it, I have a passion for it because These people aren't feeling well. They don't want to eat. And I could sympathize with that. But I want to try, like, my challenge is trying to get them to eat healthy while they're going through
Right.
treatment so they're feeling better. So I definitely fell in love with it. I worked at a hospital and then I worked part-time at a cancer center. And then I do my own practice the other time because I noticed that people weren't getting the help that they needed. Some cancer centers don't have dietitians on staff. Doctors are just telling them, eat what you want. And that's what frustrated me. Because it is very helpful during treatment. So I just want to be able to help more people during the treatment and even after, and trying to prevent this from, reduce our risk of getting cancer to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think for me, I definitely experienced that as well. I was told, just eat whatever you feel like eating, like whatever tastes good or that you can get down, go ahead and do that. And I think while that is, that is one line of advice, and yes, it makes sense because you have all these food aversions all of a sudden to a lot of things.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Yes, get down what you can. But to your point, I think there's a lot of ways that you can make healthy food taste good.
Yeah.
And so if you're able to do that, then, you're getting the biggest bang for your buck, essentially.
Absolutely.
By doing that.
And like I've had patients where all they want to eat is ice cream. They just want something cold. They want something soft. And I'm like, okay, let's work with this. Like, fine, we're getting some calories. We're getting a little protein. But what else could we do to this ice cream to give you like more nutrients? How about adding some fruit to it? How about making ice cream from a protein shake? How about, just coming up with these ideas where they're getting more nutrients than just eating, a name brand ice cream. No,
that's so funny that you're using ice cream as an example, because when I was that first month that I was in the hospital after I was diagnosed, I was literally eating ice cream every single night. I don't know what it was about it. And I wasn't an ice cream eater before, but there was something that just called to me about ice cream. And then when I got discharged, went down the rabbit hole of like, how do I make ice cream healthier? And I bought like a Ninja ice cream machine and started making like protein ice cream. So I totally hear you there. So what I want to do a little bit, so I think my experience, and I think a lot of people experiences, is like there's so much conflicting information about what to eat, what to avoid. It's highly confusing. And, that's why I personally do think working with a nutritionist can be so important in your cancer journey. I want to, of course, hear your thoughts about, what specific foods someone should focus on. But maybe before we do that, you can talk to us a little bit about, how your process works. If someone with cancer approaches you and they want to work with you, do you do like a personalized plan for them? Do you educate them? How does that process work for you?
Yeah, I like to find out where they're at, what their diet is like now, because I am a realistic person. Someone coming to me, I'm not going to be like, okay, you need to become a vegan and no more chicken, no more this. Like, that's not realistic. Yeah. People aren't going to follow that. And I don't believe in that. So finding out where they're at, what medication they're on, what side effects they're having. So finding more about them. And then going through the process. Okay, do we need to gain weight? What side effects are you having? And do a diet based on that. I do have a program where I could give meal plans. I know, not that I rely on meal plans. People like meal plans. I don't suggest people following it to a T, but just to get meal ideas of things to make, things that are higher calories. So it's customizable meal plans that they could change it. So if someone's making a recipe, if they have a big family and they want to make extra, they could always, increase the recipe or decrease it. So doing things like that with them is very helpful, and also being involved in the process. I'm kind of not your one and done dietitian. I want to be involved. Like, I want to be there for you and support you. So I'm always available. I have clients who call me from the supermarket. Hey, I see almond milk. Which one should I get? Or, I'm confused.
Right.
Because it is. It's the supermarket's very overwhelming.
And it is. And something could be... Yeah, and like you see almond milk or oat milk and you're like, okay, good. That seems like a good alternative. But then you turn the label over and there's like a bunch of sugar in some of them. And so you have to be careful about that. So that's really great. It seems like you're very involved. It's not just I
Yeah.
give you a meal plan and we're done. It's like you stay with them throughout it.
I want to be there because I want to be able to help them, even if it's cooking advice, like, hey, I'm going to make chicken. Do you have any suggestions? Or, heating things
Right.
up, whatever. I just want to be involved to help them because it is overwhelming. So instead of
Okay.
having to
Yeah.
Google it and look things up, because once again, you're going to Google and get even more confused.
Right.
There's just so much craziness out there.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. So why don't we talk a little bit about, specific foods, your recommendations.
Mhm.
So what do you think, you know, I know it's personalized, but if you
Yes.
had to just think about like cancer overall, what do you think are some food groups that are important for someone to incorporate into their diet?
The one food I have to say, I mean, once again, this all depends on the side effects that you're having. So, number one, I think vegetables are so important and people aren't eating enough of them. The minimum amount of fruits and vegetables we should be eating is 5 servings a day, but it really should be 8 to 12 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. And when I talk to people, I'm
Oh,
in
wow.
South Florida. Some people don't eat vegetables. Like, it's not even a staple, it's not even a thought. So, trying to get the vegetables in your diet, the broccoli, the asparagus, cauliflower, whatever vegetables, they're all good for you. They're full of fiber, and that's what's going to help, get rid of some of the toxins and give you the nutrients that you need. So, focusing on the fruits and the vegetables, because not most, but people like fruit because it's sweet, but the
Right.
vegetables are harder to add. So adding it to soups, adding it to your eggs, trying different ways to sneak it into your diet that you don't know
Right.
that it's there, but it is. At least you're getting the nutrients that way. So focusing on
Yeah.
your produce. The other thing is the protein. And I know there is a
Mm.
lot of information about protein, but protein is very good for you, especially during treatment, because sometimes if you're not eating well, you have the muscle wasting. So we want to keep the muscle. We want to keep all of that. So making sure you're eating adequate amounts of protein. And I've noticed too, a lot of people who are going through treatment, one of the first foods that they get turned off from is meat and chicken. I don't know why. It's not everybody,
Yes.
but I tend to hear that often. It's like, oh, I don't want chicken anymore. And then they get
Yeah.
so confused, like, okay, now what has protein in it? I don't know what else to eat because everyone assumes chicken and protein. But
Yes.
adding your beans, your nuts, your seeds, your peas. Peas are one of my favorite foods because
Mm.
they are high in protein. So doing like split pea soup, lentils are great. Just
Right.
sometimes I feel going through treatment, you want a comfort food. So sometimes ice cream is a comfort food, but soup is also a
Right.
comfort food. So getting all the
Yes.
nutrients in that way. So focusing on your produce, focusing on your protein are two important things, and not a food, but water, agua,
Mm.
however language you want to say it. But water is so important to stay hydrated. But when we talk about water too, it doesn't have to just be plain old water. You could flavor it up. Your soups count as fluids, your smoothies count as
Mhm.
fluids. So it doesn't have to just be water. But when you drink your water and you think that you drank enough, drink another cup.
Yeah.
We want to stay
Keep
hydrated.
going.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Yeah.
No more than 3 cups
Absolutely.
an
So,
hour, but we want to make sure we're
okay.
hydrated.
Got it. And then so you said like maybe 8 to 12 servings of vegetables.
Yep.
What constitutes like is a fistful one serving? What can someone use to guide them there?
So a cup raw or a half a cup cooked vegetables. So that's what's considered a serving. And if you want to use your fist, is the size of about a cup.
Yeah.
But focus on it. So one thing I like to promote is your plate. So looking more visual, look at your
Mhm.
plate. Half of it you want your vegetables, a quarter of it you want your starch or your carbs, and a quarter of it you want your protein. So you're focusing more on those vegetables more than anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for me, I have found like I have trouble eating like a large like quantity of
Mhm.
food, and so like raw vegetables is tough for me because it just seems like a large
Yeah.
quantity that I have to eat. So I found a lot of benefit in making smoothies
Yep.
or juicing.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that? And can you talk a little bit about, when would you want to juice something versus put it in a blender, like the
Yeah.
fiber component and how that gets lost sometimes?
Yeah, because some people like to juice, but it's getting rid of a lot of the fiber, and that's what we need. We want at least 35 grams. It's 25 to 35 grams of fiber a day. The more, the better. And sometimes when people juice, you're getting rid of a lot of that fiber. So
Hmm.
if you want to juice at home, use the pulp, like add it to something.
Right.
You could add it back into your smoothie. You could cook with it. You could add it to muffins or pancakes. There's a lot you could do with it. Just don't throw it out. But yeah,
Right.
that's the biggest difference between smoothies and juicing is that when you're making a smoothie, you're adding the whole fruit in, usually. You're adding the whole
Right.
apple or the whole peach. And then with the juicing, you're getting rid of it. So you're getting a lot of the carbs and the sugar versus a smoothie where it won't spike your blood sugar as much because you have that fiber and those nutrients in it to not spike the blood sugars as much. But even with the
Yeah.
smoothies, I'm always telling people add protein to it. You don't want to just do a ton of fruit. You want to do mostly vegetables because, like we've said, people aren't eating enough vegetables. So doing one fruit, 2 to 3 vegetables, and then adding your protein to it, or your nuts, your seeds, your I don't know, superfoods. There's no definition
Hmm.
of super, but things like that. Add your flax seeds, add your basil seeds, add your chia seeds to it, just to oomph it up so you're getting more nutrients and it's going to fill you up more. And I think smoothies are great for treatment because it's something that you could just sip on throughout the day and get the calories.
Right.
And you could make it so calorie dense that it's great. Some people who, let's talk on the other side, who are trying to lose weight, some people are making
Hmm.
smoothies, but their smoothies are so nutrient dense. It's like 600 calories. You
Right.
might not lose weight that way. But if you need to gain the weight, smoothies are fabulous because you could add avocado to it. You could add your yogurt, your oil, things to it just to oomph up the calories.
So when someone thinks about like protein, fiber, and like the other like
Hmm.
macronutrients, like what do you like if you were to look at a plate, maybe like
Hmm.
what would you say is like a good division for them to use?
With the so we want to have our carbs, so our rice, our pasta. I know people are probably going to like freak out, like you're saying to eat carbs. Yes, carbs are good. They're good nutrients. They have a lot of fiber in
Yeah.
it, but we want to choose ones with like whole grains. So your barley, your farro, your quinoa are great
Mhm.
whole grains to use. So that counts as your grain, your protein, and then of course we want to add some fat to it. I'm not saying, fry up your foods or add a pat of butter to it, but some good fats that help you feel full. So avocados, your nuts, your olive oil, and that we just want to use a little bit. We don't want to go overboard with the fat because we do want to
Right.
eat a low fat diet, but we want to choose the good fats. So
Yeah.
maybe a
So okay, so
tablespoon.
yeah, so you brought up oil.
Yes.
Maybe you can give us your take on like I know growing up, a lot of us, our parents cooked with vegetable
Yep.
oil like that or a canola, right? That was kind of the norm for a long time. I know a lot of people have now switched to olive oil or
Yeah.
avocado. What are your thoughts on, which oils should someone try to incorporate?
Yeah, I mean, I like to cook with the extra virgin olive oil, even
Hmm.
because it has a great taste to it. So usually, extra virgin olive oil is a finishing oil, and then I
Right.
like to use avocado oil to cook with because it doesn't have much taste to it, but we do want to use a little bit of it. So if you wanted to buy one of those cans that like the pumper and just spray it, because sometimes when you're cooking,
Yes.
you just pour the oil in and you don't pay attention and it adds up really fast. Yes, it's good for
Yeah.
you, but it's 120 calories per tablespoon. That adds up
Right.
quite a bit. So
Yeah.
choosing those types of oils are better. Um, the other oils, yes, I know there's a lot going on with them, but they do have some benefits to it because they have your polyunsaturated fats. They have your vitamin E in it. I think it all has to do with how much of it you're eating. We don't want to go
Yeah.
overboard with any of those foods.
Yeah. I've definitely noticed a lot of recipes will call for a tablespoon of whatever oil you're
Yeah.
using. And if you actually measure out a tablespoon, it is very little.
Yeah.
So I think for most of us that cook by hand and just kind of pour,
Yeah.
we're actually using quite a bit more than just a tablespoon.
And I think it also depends on the size of the pan that we're using too, because, it looks not as much. So you keep going around the
Yeah,
pan and swirl it. And, by the time it could be 500, 1,000 calories. I mean,
exactly. Yeah,
so.
absolutely. Um, okay, I think that's super helpful. What about, we hear so many things that are conflicting about meat, dairy, eggs,
Yeah.
milk, all of that, right? And then I know a lot of people, when they get diagnosed, they may kind of, I don't want to say overcorrect, but they may go on the other side of the spectrum and be like, okay, I'm going to go vegan.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, which I think I've actually tried that myself too for a while. And so what do you think, is meat really bad for you during cancer?
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay to have a certain amount of it? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, the research shows that going to the extreme of vegan, like if you follow a vegan diet, absolutely, go with it, if that's what you would like. There's nothing wrong with it, but adding some meat to your diet is perfectly fine. It's recommended less than 18 ounces a week of red meat. So your red meat is your beef, your lamb, your pork. So
Okay.
when we eat, usually, I don't want to generalize, but if you're making your plate, usually for women a portion is about 3-4 ounces, like the palm of your hand, a little bit. So to do
Yeah.
18 ounces a week, you could still have it 3-4 times and be under
Right.
that 18 ounces a week. It's when you go to the steakhouse and you get a big 16-ounce steak, that's enough for the week. So you can do a little bit of it. It is better absorbed. Like, yes, I do believe in plant-based eating more fruits and vegetables. However, sometimes you just want a steak or you want a piece of meat, and it's absolutely fine. Less than 16 ounces a week, just because it is higher in saturated fats. That's with the meat. It is okay to have.
Okay.
The chicken is fine. Fish is great. It's a lean source of protein. They have some great apps out there that tell you which ones are higher in mercury. It's just the amount of the fish that we're eating. Usually the bigger fish, the higher mercury it has. Like swordfish is one, shark is another. But when we think, once again, don't want to generalize, but it's the truth. It's an expensive fish. Most people aren't eating swordfish every single day. So to have it once in a while for a special occasion, it's fine. It's just we don't want you to do it all the time, like every day, which most people aren't doing. Even tuna is great. Tuna is a great source of protein. And I think that's good to have in the house when you're going through treatment, just because it's easy. You could buy the thing and rip the top off, and now it's a good source of protein. You can make salads with it. So it's so versatile. So fish is fine, but all those foods are fine to have. Yes. Do I believe in more plant-based eating? Yes. We do need to eat more plants, eat more beans, tofu, edamame, all things like that. Just to get your protein source in.
Yeah. No, I actually really like, and I've been following you on social media for a while. And I think one thing that really resonates with me about your style is that you're not about like the elimination diet.
No.
You're not like, don't eat like all of this stuff, because that becomes so restrictive and it's really hard to maintain going long term.
Yeah.
And I like your approach of like, you can keep these things in, but limit them and focus more on the plants.
Yes.
And,
Yeah, because that's usually when I see a patient or see a client, the first thing they ask is, what do I need to avoid? And I'm like, listen, let's take that sentence out. I'm not going to talk about what to take out, because let's just say we're sitting here and I'm telling you, you know what? No more ice cream. You can't have ice cream. There's too much sugar in it, too much, whatever. You're going to think about it and want it, and you might do it for a week. And then eventually you're going to be like, I'm not listening to Stacy anymore, and you're going to overindulge in it. But if you know you can have it, I'm not saying eat it every day, but at least if you know you can have it. But let's focus on eating more vegetables. Let's eat more whole grains. How could we make it, taste good. Let's focus
Right.
on what we can eat versus what we shouldn't eat or can't eat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
once in a while,
Absolutely.
why not?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, when you're focusing more on these are the things I am eating,
Yeah,
then it's almost like by the time you get to the ice cream or whatever it is that you're looking for, you're already pretty full.
right.
And yes, you may have a little bit of ice cream, but you'll probably have less than if you were just like your entire day was sitting there thinking about how you can't eat
Yeah.
this item.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
especially with like dessert or anything like that, I tell people take the 3 bite rule because usually the first bite is the best bite ever. The second one, you're like,
Mhm.
okay. And by the third bite, you're just eating it because it's there. But it's okay to
Right.
like do the exercise, the pushing away. Like it's okay not to
Yeah.
finish. It is perfectly fine. Mom's not going to yell at you that you need to clean the plate. We want to
Yeah.
go back to
Yeah.
listen to our body, but at least you're not depriving yourself. Like, do I think it's the best thing in the world? No. But if once in a while you want a bite of that cheesecake or that ice cream, that what I want to stress enough is that one meal, that one ice cream is not going to make cancer come back. It is not going to make it worse because I have a lot of clients who are scared to eat because they don't want to do anything wrong to make the cancer come back. And it's not
Right.
one food that's going to cause it,
Right.
so I really want to push that because, you need to enjoy life too. Yes, do we want to
Yeah.
put more nutrients in our body? Absolutely. But, you know, we got to be if that's what you want and it makes you happy. And I think by stressing too of thinking of all the things you can't do and you can't eat, like that's not a good thing either. Like, we want to be happy and
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
able
and
to
it's like
celebrate.
your world is already turned upside
Yes.
down with this diagnosis, and maintaining some sort of normalcy, whether it is through food or
Yeah.
other aspects of your life, I think is really important. And you again, I think the emphasis should be on what is stuff that you can incorporate into
Yeah.
your life, but continue doing, and you're
Sure.
not just going to burn out within
Yeah.
a couple of weeks of doing it.
Yeah. And another thing I hear all the time is family members and friends pushing their beliefs that they saw on social media. Like I had one girl call me the other day and she's telling me that there's nothing left to eat. Her parents came to her house, took away all the food and they put like healthy food in her house, but she doesn't like any of it. And she's like, what do I do? Like, I don't even ask for advice. And people are just coming to me, you're eating that. You shouldn't be eating that. And it's just the guilt
Yeah,
that people have. And it's real. Like, and I said
yeah,
to the girl, I said, listen, I said, do you drive? She's like, yeah. I said, you have a car? She's like, yeah. I said, you have money? Yeah. I said, go to the store, go food shopping, get what you like. Like, you need to enjoy food.
yeah. No, I mean, that resonates with me so much. I think, just there's just so much unsolicited advice that you start getting
Yeah,
from like friends and family and loved ones. And of course, they mean well, and
absolutely.
they something came across on their algorithm, and they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh, it says like don't eat this if you have cancer," and they'll send that your way. But what I don't think they realize or appreciate is like we're getting bombarded with that. And so it just becomes really
yeah,
confusing on like what do I eat then? And I just think I don't
yeah,
particularly find it helpful when people send those things my
yeah.
way.
It definitely is not
Um
helpful.
so I mean there's, so many different types of cancers. Do
Mhm.
you think someone needs to tailor their diet and nutrition with like what type of cancer they have, or do you kind of approach it with just like cancer overall holistically?
I think the cancers are different because there are certain researches that certain diets do help with certain cancers, or like someone who has brain cancer or seizures, sometimes doing a really strict keto diet could help them. There has been research on it. But for someone with breast cancer or pancreatic cancer, I'm definitely not going to talk about that. So it does
Yeah.
depend. And someone with pancreatic cancer, they might now have diabetes because of their insulin
Right.
levels. So it does depend on what they're going through.
What their specific one
Yeah.
is. Yeah, that makes sense. And then what about okay, so like side effects, right? So if you're
Yep.
going through chemo or all of that, like you have maybe you have a lot of nausea.
Yep.
Do you also, recommend like eating certain foods to help with those side effects?
Yeah, like so a lot of my clients, especially if they're going through radiation in like the down area, they
Yeah.
get a lot
Mhm.
of diarrhea. So, doing a low fiber diet, it's the total opposite of what I'm preaching about eating the whole grains. If you are having diarrhea,
Yes.
yes, you want to change your diet and do more of the white bread, the white rice. Um, if you are nauseous, doing ginger, having the small little meals, I find even poor appetite, doing the small
Yeah.
little meals, just so it's less pressure on everybody. That's what I like
Yeah.
because it's a family approach, or even just you have to have the caregivers involved too, because it's not just about the person going through the treatment, it's the family too, because if they want to help out and friends, like what could they do to help? So the small meals,
Right.
because that's one of the biggest things I see is that families, because I probably did it too with my family. You want them to eat. So what do? You give them a big thing of food and you push it in front of them. Eat, you need to eat, you need to eat. But then if
Yeah.
you're not feeling well, the look of the food, number one, is going to turn you off. The smell of the food could turn you off. So I'm like, okay, let's take a step
Yeah.
back. How about just a little at a time? Like if we took a sandwich and cut it into 4 pieces, 6 pieces, and gave your family member one little piece, they
Yes.
eat it. They feel more accomplished, like, wow, I did it, versus only taking a bite of a sandwich. And now they're like,
Yeah.
I'm still hungry. Can I have more? And everybody is happy. So I would rather
Right.
family members give too little and do a little at a time versus these big, huge meals. Because
That
it's a
is
mind game.
I It's honestly, I don't think I've actually heard anyone else state it like that, but that is so helpful. I know like when people like my family brings me food and it's just like the sheer quantity of it,
Yes,
like because I'm already not feeling well, it just like kind of like really feels so overwhelming.
right.
And I just know there's no way I'm going to get through this. And it just makes even that first like bite or two just
Hmm.
not as appealing.
Yep.
And then there's like this guilt aspect of it where I'm like, oh, like they made this for me. I
Yes.
should eat it, and you're just kind of, but again, they always like say like, well, it's okay if you don't finish it, but it would be so much nicer if they just brought a smaller portion.
But then you feel guilty too, because you're like, oh, I know, like what you said, you just feel guilty, like I should finish it. But you need to listen to your body too. I don't want
Yes.
people to force themselves to eat because, then you might get sick and throw up just from eating too much.
Yeah,
So yes,
exactly.
a little at a time. I even tell people use shot glasses. Like put your smoothies in
Mm.
shot glasses because it's only what
Oh,
one and a
wow.
half ounces, 2 ounce portion, and
Yeah.
every half
Yeah.
hour take a shot. Or every commercial break when you're watching TV, take a shot. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
alcohol. It could be a smoothie, but at least, you know what? By the end of the TV show, you took, 4 shots, 5 shots. You finished half a container of the smoothie, or
Yeah.
whatever
That's
it
a great
is.
idea.
So just a little at a
Yeah.
time. Make it, you know, like a child. Just a little
Like a
at a
baby,
time.
basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it helps and it's less stressful for everybody.
I think I will definitely take that away. I know when I make my smoothies and juices, I put them in those huge mason jars
Mhm.
and I do sip on them throughout the day.
Right.
But like I could put it in a smaller glass and then keep the rest in the fridge and
Yep.
just refill as I go instead.
And you could even talk about like I like to prep, but if you make too much of a smoothie, you could always freeze it too. So put it in,
True.
freeze it. So then for days that you don't feel like making a smoothie, at least you have something in the freezer. You take it out, let it defrost for a little while. To go take a
Yeah.
shower. By the time you get out of the shower, it's going to be defrosted and done. So it's one less
Yeah.
thing that you have to do.
Yeah. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned a little bit earlier about like superfoods.
Mm-hmm.
What are like some that you really think are things that someone could incorporate into maybe their smoothie or just on top of like a salad? What do you think about those?
So just there's no definition of superfoods. So like
Right.
it's just a marketing term, but foods that I think
It's a
have
buzzword.
yeah. But
Yeah.
foods that I would add that have a lot of nutrients in it. One of them, I think I mentioned before, but it's basil seeds.
Okay.
And it's one of my favorite, like I'm addicted to it now because it's just like chia seeds, but for 2 tablespoons of it, it's 15 grams of fiber. So like we said, we need
Oh, wow.
35 grams of fiber. So you're getting fiber, you're getting iron, you're getting potassium. You use it just like chia seeds. So, but it just has more
Oh, okay.
nutrients in it. So that's something I
Okay.
like to add to my smoothies. I add it to my yogurt. So any of your seeds.
Does it have a taste similar to basil or just kind of as a
No, it
neutral
doesn't
taste?
taste like basil. It's like chia seeds. Like if
Oh,
I gave it to you, you couldn't tell the difference.
you wouldn't know.
No.
Oh, okay,
Even
great.
if I show it to you, it
Awesome.
looks exactly the same. But
Yeah.
it's just more nutrient dense. Even doing hemp seeds
Okay.
are great.
Mm,
Those are different seeds you could add to your smoothies or salads.
right.
Other things are like edamame, I think is great. It's a lean protein. It's something that you could leave in the freezer, have it as a snack, add it to your salads, make dips with it. It's very versatile, and at least you're getting your protein that way. And I think
Okay.
beans are a great food. Your lentils. A lot of
Hmm.
people don't know what to do with it. I live in South Florida. Most people think, oh, rice and beans, and that's it. But they're so
Right. Right.
versatile of things you could make with it. You could make burgers with it and tacos and, sloppy Joe type
Yeah.
of things. So it's very
Yeah.
versatile, but you're getting your fiber that way. You're getting some protein. I'm not going to say your beans are a high source of protein, but it does have some protein in it because every ounce of meat has about 6 grams of protein versus a half a cup has 6 grams of protein. So you would have to eat a
Okay.
lot of beans to get the
Be.
same.
Yeah.
And, to tell someone you need to eat 2 cups of beans at a meal, they're probably not going to be too happy with me or do it.
Yeah. That
They're going to have a
seems
lot
like
of gas.
yeah.
It's not too fun.
What about I've heard a lot of great things about sprouts.
Hmm.
So like broccoli sprouts and other sprouts. What makes
Yeah.
like a sprout so much more, powerful
Yeah.
than the plant itself?
Because it's a lot more dense and it has a lot more nutrients in it. So if you are going to do the sprouts, I just wouldn't suggest to do it while you're going through treatment, just because there
Okay.
could be bacteria on it and we don't want you to get sick from
Mm.
the food. But
Hmm.
otherwise, after treatment, yeah, adding sprouts to sandwiches and tacos are great. But yeah, they're more
Yeah.
nutrient packed than eating just
Okay.
broccoli. But yeah, it's
Okay.
the
That makes sense.
mold and all that could grow in them. So.
Okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And then supplements. So I get millions of ads, on social media. People are always sending me like, hey, like this supplement, you should have this. It's just really confusing. And I mean, I know for me, like I run all of my supplements through my oncologist
Mhm.
and just to make sure that, there's not some interaction
Sure.
with my treatment that I'm on. But how do you like recommend that someone approaches supplements?
I think you need to work with your healthcare provider. Um, if it's an integrative medicine doctor or your regular doctor, if they are into supplements. With supplements too, you really want them to be third party tested because
Okay.
not that they're not regulated, but they only really check it if people complain about it. So
Hmm.
you want to make sure you're getting what they say you're getting. So having that third party involved to make sure, because it could say that it's 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, let's say, but who really knows? It could be 1,000, it could be 10,000, it could be nothing, it could be sugar for all you know. So if you have
Yeah.
that third party tested vitamin, and also you don't want to just take supplements because Aunt Joe or someone on the street told you to take it, because everybody is different. Like you said, you need to run it by the doctor just to make sure that it doesn't interact with anything. And just some vitamins are water soluble vitamins, so we don't need to. Your body gets what it needs, and then urinate the rest out. Like I say with vitamin C all the time, everyone loves vitamin C.
Hmm.
Yes, you could take it, but if your body doesn't need it, you're going to urinate it out. So you're making your urine more expensive, and you see it in the toilet. If you're crazy like me and like to look in the toilet, but you'll see
Yeah.
it's a bright orange, yellowish color. That's the vitamin C coming out because your body didn't need it. and, getting
Right.
tested to see if you do need it. Like vitamin D is another popular one. Just make
Mhm.
sure you're deficient in it before you start taking some of the vitamins.
Okay. So are there like certain reputable third party companies that do all of this research, or does it like vary vitamin to vitamin?
There's the USP. There's a symbol on the vitamins. There's a
Okay.
there's a website that I use. It's called Full Scripts, and they usually have third party tested vitamins in it. But yeah, you just want to make sure you're because I have people come with me with bags of vitamins, and
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, why are you taking it? Like, I just want to know. I don't know. My neighbor told me to take
Yeah.
this, or oh, this one told me to take it. I'm like, okay, let's like know the reason you're taking it because I don't want it to hurt you either. If you don't need
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think we all kind of fall into that trap, especially initially
Yes.
when you're, just learning
Yeah.
about how to navigate this whole
Hmm.
thing, that you just start taking a bunch of things and you don't even know why you're taking something.
Yes.
And yeah.
We all do it.
Um yes, we all do, exactly. Okay, so is someone's approach to diet and nutrition different when they're like actively going through treatments versus, let's say, they're in remission and they're trying to, keep cancer from coming back? Are there different approaches there?
Yeah, I mean, if they're going through treatment, usually it's just trying to deal with the side effects. So like side effect management, but even side effects happen after treatment too. I was talking to someone the other day and she's like, I went through treatment so well. I did not have one side effect. I was feeling really good. She goes, a year later, it's all hitting me now, all the side
Mm,
effects. So, it side effects happen after treatment too, and I think sometimes that could be worse than during treatment, because sometimes doctors are like, "Okay, you're clear. See you in a year," and you're like, "But I don't feel well. I'm tired. I'm fatigued." And you like lost on what to do, or you're having the swallowing issues or whatever it is. So it all depends on what you're going through. But sometimes I'm dealing with a lot of clients after treatment, especially the breast cancer ones who want to lose
mhm.
weight or don't want to keep gaining weight because they gain so much weight. Cancer
Right.
does not mean you lose weight. Like that's a misconception too. People are like, oh, I have cancer. I'm
Absolutely.
going to lose weight. Okay, first of all, that's not why I want you to lose weight or like lose
Yeah.
weight because you're not eating. That's not a good thing. But
Right.
sometimes with the medication, they're gaining weight because of the steroids, because of other
Mhm.
medications. And we're
Yeah.
women. We don't want to gain weight. It doesn't matter, disease or not. We don't want to gain
Right.
weight. So working with
Yeah.
them, trying to prevent further weight gain and the weight loss is
Yeah.
major.
No, I think that's really important that you brought that up. I mean, for me personally, like when I first got diagnosed, I was on steroids.
Mhm.
And so I gained a ton of weight. And that was, obviously on top of the diagnosis, but it's like when you look in the mirror and you don't really recognize yourself, whether it's through hair
Yep.
loss or through weight gain, it becomes really difficult. But I also think, like going through cancer isn't the time to be like, okay, well, I'm going to eliminate a bunch of food so that I lose weight. It's really about nourishing your
Yep.
body, and the weight will come off with time, but I think it's more important to focus on making yourself healthy internally
Absolutely.
during that time.
And especially so
Yeah.
they don't have to stop your treatment or, your blood levels are off. I want you to be strong so you're able to go through the treatment and not worried about
Yes.
the weight right
Yes.
now. I tell them
Yeah.
after. I say, please, right
Yeah.
now, our goal is to maintain your weight. That's it. I don't want you to lose. And I said, if you do lose because you're telling me I'm exercising, I'm feeling good, I'm eating well, and they're losing like a little at a time, okay. But I don't want the 5 pound weight loss in a week because you're vomiting, having diarrhea. You know,
Yeah.
that's not how I want you to lose the weight because that's not a
Yeah.
good thing,
Absolutely. And
you know?
yeah, and your body needs that energy to
Yeah.
fight the cancer and to handle the treatments. And so
Yep.
I completely agree with that. Um, what about the concept of like mindful eating? So I know like, like obviously going
Mhm.
through cancer can be like really like stressing inducing
Mhm.
or anxiety inducing, people may like turn towards like comfort foods like chips, ice cream, sodas, things like that.
Yep.
How do you encourage people to, be a mindful eater when they're stressed out or anxious?
I think they have to just think about what they're eating and why they're eating and maybe come up with different alternatives of the soda. Okay, is it just the bubbliness that you want? So maybe doing like a LaCroix or a seltzer water versus a soda, like just trying to come up with other alternatives and also thinking about why are you eating? Are you eating because you're hungry? Are you eating because you're bored? Are you eating because the clock? Just figuring out why you're eating is important and doing it based on that. I mean, sometimes, yes, I do tell clients to eat based on the clock because they're not eating at all. So I want them to eat every few hours. But we need to go back to childhood, go back to the kid and eat when we're hungry and stop when we're satisfied. Or,
Hmm.
just like I said, the clean plate club, no, not anymore. We really want to listen to our body because our body knows. Um, Sometimes, you got to go with what you're craving too. Sometimes, if you're craving something sweet, have some fruit. You don't have to go for the chocolate or, the unhealthy stuff. If you want something crunchy, maybe going for a salad. Um,
Yeah.
so but we also don't want to say, "Oh, I'm in the mood for chocolate," and then go eat yogurt and go like, "That didn't satisfy my chocolate. I'm gonna go eat a pudding. No, that didn't satisfy me either." And then eventually you're gonna eat the chocolate. So
Right.
you really want to listen. And if you did want a piece of chocolate, just have a little piece. You don't have to eat the whole king size bar. And choose
Yeah.
a good chocolate, dark chocolate, but we want to listen to our body of what it's wanting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely want to hear your thoughts a little bit on the sugar
Yep.
aspect. I mean, I think the general consensus, if you were to ask someone off the street, is like, okay, like, cancer equals sugar. So don't have any sugar, including fruit, if you
Right.
have cancer. That's been debunked a million times, but maybe you can talk about your opinion on sugar and fruits and
Yeah.
cancer.
I mean, the misconception is that sugar feeds the cancer, but when you're eating carbohydrates, it breaks down to sugar and it feeds all of your cells. So it doesn't just go to the cancer cells. Um, Listen, fact, sugar is not good for any of us. I mean, it's not. There's no nutritional benefit to it. It's it's hidden in a lot of foods that we're eating. Do we want to limit the amount of added sugar we have in our diet? Absolutely. I mean, do we have to restrict it 100%? Um, you can, but I don't want you to stress it either. But we do want to limit the amount of added sugar that we have. And I think it's great that they did change the labels now because it does show the amount of added sugar. Because sometimes I would have people come to me with raisins and they're like, "Oh my goodness, look at it. It's 25 grams of sugar." Yes, but it's not added sugar. It's sugar from the grapes because grapes have sugar. But
Right.
just think of the nutritional benefit you're getting from eating the fruit. You're getting the fiber, all the vitamins. I don't tell people not to eat any fruit. It doesn't matter what you have, cancer, diabetes. All fruits are good for you. They're all good for you for all different reasons. So we do want to eat a variety of fruit. We definitely want to limit the amount of added sugar that we have in our diet because it's in everything and we eat so much of it. So trying to limit it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so for someone listening in, let's say like they are supporting someone with cancer or like a family member or loved one, how do you think they can help out in this process for them? Like whether it's like actually like via prepping
Mhm.
food or maybe it's like emotional support. What are some guidelines that you would give there?
I think the food is, of course, because we're talking food, I think food is so helpful because then, especially if your loved one likes your food, because I've had clients who are like, "I hate my mom's cooking and I don't want to eat it." But if they do like your cooking, it's great to have healthy meals in the house. So when they're not feeling well, all they have to do is, reheat it and be done with it. But you
Mm.
could also ask them what they want. Don't be insulted if they say they want something and then they change their mind, or when you put it in front of them, they're like, "I don't want that anymore." And I think the
Yeah.
other thing for caregivers is just listening. You don't have to have a solution. You don't need to talk. And I know it's hard sometimes. Just put the tape on your mouth, because sometimes they just want to verbally vomit, their feelings, and they just want someone to listen to them. So I think that's very important, because we want a lot of people just want to help, and they want to give their advice and their suggestions of what to do. But sometimes you just want someone not even to say anything, just to listen and be like, I understand, like, I'm sorry you're going through this, or, just some reinforcement of empathy.
I agree. I think empathy is huge. I think silence is so important, actually. I think, you don't have to show up with all of the answers and all of the articles that you may have read, but just, just kind of sit there with them, and you can support through that way as well. Okay, well, Stacy, this is amazing. I mean, I feel like I definitely learned a lot, and I think people listening in will definitely really appreciate this. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, how do they reach out to you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at cancer.nutrition.coach. I also have a website, flavorfulnutrition.com. And you could always email me, Stacy at stacyrobertsrd.com. But get in touch with me. I love talking to new people and helping out.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to The Other C Word, hosted by Bisma. New episodes drop Mondays. Connect with me on socials at Bisma, and let's all learn, grow, and inspire each other.